Today, we are celebrating the many, many shades of green that make up what we like to call an organic lifestyle. What exactly does organic and being green mean anyway? Why is it so important? We share our thoughts on what it all means from a lifestyle standpoint, what to look for, who to look to. It's easier than you think, and you can come at it from all different directions: mindful shopping, reconnecting with nature, repurposing, recycling, and quite simply anything that is healthy for us and our environment. Organic and what it means to us starts now. I'm Michelle Beshin, and I love sharing ideas, especially ideas that celebrate nature, resourcefulness, and doing things yourself. I also love to search out interesting people, everyday people that are doing up green in their own unique way so that we can throw their naturally good ideas into the mix. I'm on the same journey as all of you, trying to do things that are healthy and vibrant for us and our environment. Be Organic is a lifestyle. It's my lifestyle, one that is naturally imperfect yet practically green every step of the way. Organic. What does the word organic mean to you?
First thing that comes to mind is a farm.
Well, I mean, life forms, alive. I mean, I remember organic chemistry. It just, relates to life and life forms and stuff like that. Yes.
Food. Just food.
And it obviously ties into the environment, but I just don't really think about it that much.
In plant life, obviously you're into the, what you said, organic chemistry, but as far as plant life goes,
that would be organic.
That's organic. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I think of farms, soy milk.
Not a lot of stuff with insecticides and that sort of stuff, and not a lot of liquid fertilizers and all that extra stuff.
If you look it up, you'll see several definitions, all meaning different things to different people and different organizations. The one that most people commonly gravitate towards is the one regarding agriculture and our food. The one that we celebrate has a much broader scope. It goes beyond agribusiness because that's just commercially how most of us recognize the word organic. But to us, it's a lifestyle, a wholesome, rich lifestyle.
Organic means not using chemicals, letting nature take its course, basically.
I think of soil, as an organic, that it comes something that comes from the soil or that comes from the earth.
I think of chemical-free, no pesticides, grown in nature, natural state.
Organic to me means that it's pure or natural. I guess I think about organic back when I was younger, and my mom used to grow corn and vegetables in her garden, and she used to always call that her organic garden.
I usually think of organic foods. I'd say that'd be the first thing that came to mind.
When somebody asks me about organic, I think of, I guess I would use the word flow, kind of being in the moment, in the flow, uncontrived. Letting things happen the way that they're supposed to happen and not getting in the way.
A wholesome, rich lifestyle, one that is sometimes simple, sometimes complicated, sometimes imperfect, but always natural, always mindful. It's about doing things that are good for us and good for our environment. If we are being mindful and aware, we're paying attention and taking care.
How's the sun in California?
Let's take grocery shopping, for instance, and whether you're shopping at a traditional grocery store or a specialty store or even like a big box discount store, you want to look at what you are buying. What is it made out of? And I like to kind of follow that whole no fuss, no muss rule. The least amount of fuss that went into making something, the better, and to try to avoid all things artificial. Spending a good amount of your shopping time in the produce aisle is naturally good for your health, but even those of us with the best of intentions can't be 100% organic 100% of the time, either for budget reasons or availability. So you want to do what you can when you can. And there are some really good things to know when you are shopping for produce, and one of them is know what you are buying. You're going to find either conventionally grown produce or organically grown produce or genetically modified produce. And an easy way to tell which is which, you want to look at their product codes. If the produce has a product code that begins with a 4, it's been conventionally grown. If it starts with a 9, it's organically grown. And if it starts with an 8, it's been genetically modified. When you're purchasing conventionally grown produce, you want to be aware of what's commonly called the dirty dozen, and that's 12 products that are generally more heavily sprayed with pesticides than other. You want to know what that list is. That way, when you have to make choices on what you can purchase organically, you can make your choices accordingly and kind of choose the lesser of two evils. Grab on to the things that have wholesome ingredients, everything from your food to your beauty and cleaning products. Look at packaging. Less is more. You want to avoid the things that are all individually wrapped. Try to buy in bulk when you can, and ask yourself if the packaging is something that can actually be reused or recycled. Look for local at these places. Even your larger conventional grocery stores are going to carry things that are supplied by local growers and bakers and other producers. And you're supporting things that then haven't had to be transported very far. They're going to be fresher, and you're also supporting the things that are right in your own backyard. Another way for you to go local is to search out the places where you can take direct advantage of what's available. Farmers markets are an excellent place for you to score things that are fresh, in season, wholesome, locally produced goods. You may even have access to some incredible resources just down the road from you. Do your research, see what's available, and search for area farmers, neighborhood growers, and you'll be doing a good thing. Secondhand stores are another green way of shopping. You can get rid of things in an eco-friendly way, which also in turn helps communities and charities, and the stores themselves are filled with wonderful things to reuse. It's budget friendly and another mindful way to shop. Secondhand shopping doesn't just mean thrift stores. Salvage stores are also a great resource for renovating, decorating, building materials, garage sales, flea markets. Those too are mindful choices. And no matter where you are shopping or what you are buying, remember to use your reusable shopping bags. Don't leave them at home. Take them with you. Remember to take them out of the car and use them. And then also remember to put them back into your car or carrier so that they're always readily available. We can all be organic shoppers by being conscientious of what we're consuming, how much we're consuming, and really just keeping things simple. Conserving and saving go hand in hand, and greener shopping habits will help all of us lead more sustainable lives. Being mindful of how we dispose of all of the things in our life is also a big part of living an organic lifestyle. And it's really as simple as we want to keep as much out of the landfill as possible. And recycling, that's a no-brainer. You really want to take advantage of any curbside programs that are in your area. Also, search out for all of the drop sites. You know, take a moment to sort through your things and find the proper places to dispose of them. Another big part of an organic lifestyle is really getting in touch with nature, and one of the simple ways that a lot of us can do that is through our lawns and gardens. And something that is getting even more and more recognition, and something I'm excited to even learn more about, is the whole concept of a naturalized lawn. And there actually is this housing area close by our studios that I stumbled upon that when I drove through I could tell things were a lot more wild, yet it was by design. And as a matter of fact, like the first house when you drive in, at first glance you would think nobody lives there or they're not, you know, bothering to mow their grass, but actually it's by design. As we kind of drove a little bit further and did a little hunting around, actually a lot of the homes in this area embrace that whole idea of a natural landscape. So we're going to right now go visit with Renee and Carl Peters, who have a beautiful example, and kind of find out, you know, how they do it, why they do it. And then we're also going to go back to the Luthys, who live in the first house that when you drive by, you initially think that, oh, nobody lives there. And hopefully we'll be inspired to maybe inject a little bit of this into our own yards. Renee, your yard is absolutely beautiful. From afar, it was beautiful, but once I kind of get inside here and walk around, this is amazing. And I just want to know from you, where it all started. How did you go about this method of landscaping?
Oh my goodness. Well, when we built our house 15 years ago, I just thought, especially with the little extra land we had, we didn't really want to mow a lot. And so the other thing, well, it was just kind of coming on the scene, the native prairie plantings and things like that. And I thought, well, that would be perfect for here because we have the extra acres. And so, so we had it done 15 years ago, and we've been kind of, like you say, it's a work in progress.
Talk us through the process. Now, when you built here, so this is all by design. This isn't you just letting your grass grow and not wanting to mess with mowing it. There's thought put into it.
For the most part.
So did you strategically plant all of this? Did you work with some of the things that were naturally here already? Was this bare ground?
No, it was basically construction soil. You know, after building. And then we didn't really amend the soil at all. We didn't really bring anything else in as far as soil is concerned. But we just had it seeded. It was just seed, no plugs at the time. And it was native plantings, hopefully pure seed. You definitely want pure seed. The first couple years we mowed it off. When it got to be like 6 to 8 inches, we mowed it, had it mowed. And then that's to keep the cold weather weeds and everything down, so it gives the prairie, the plants that you want, a chance, to grow up.
Talk about the maintenance of this type of landscaping. You're not mowing all of the time, obviously, but do you? It's not something where you just let it go and forget about it year after year. You do have to do some things to make sure it stays healthy.
Right. And actually, rather than mowing at the end of the winter season and at the end of fall, it's better to do a burn. And a burn should be done like every 2 to 3 years. And burning is the most beneficial rather than mowing, because when you're mowing, especially if you don't rake up all the residue that's left, all the plant material that's left from mowing, those seeds will go back down into the ground and they'll just come back up again. So the burning is better because that gets rid of everything. It returns a lot of the nutrients back down into the soil. You get rid of those seed heads that you don't want, that gets rid of them. And yeah, burning is just the best. And we could be doing a lot more weeding, a lot more.
See, this to me, most people are going to look at this and go, weeding? You don't have to weed in a yard like this.
Well, anyway.
This would be a lot harder to weed, I'm thinking. Do you actually walk through here and pull things out?
Yeah. We obviously cut out trees that the squirrels plant probably, and we had fleabane for a while. We had a lot of fleabane. We went through and pulled all that out.
Well, thank you for sharing. I just love that. I'm inspired, and I'm gonna, execute some of this in my own yard and try to get more of this going. I would love to be able to look out and see this, and I'd love to have you kind of walk us around, a little bit, and just kind of share some of maybe your favorite areas or favorite flowers. And I'm gonna get in a little further. So Judy, Renee tells us that you and Fred are pretty much the pioneers behind this whole naturalized landscaping idea in this area.
Well, we were the first ones out here, and we moved out, it was just mud. And Fred decided he didn't really want to mow this much. We have 2.5 acres, and he didn't want to mow that much. So he decided to do a prairie, and we had friends in Nebraska that had done it. So we kind of knew what it would look like when we got done.
Talk about how it's changed over the years.
It's been 20 years. When at first they were just full of wildflowers. We loved the coneflowers and the black-eyed Susans, but as the grasses became established, they kind of have taken them out. So there's not as much color anymore as there used to be. But
what kind of maintenance do you do with, Renee talked about it's important to burn. And possibly, and kind of going out, and the thing that made me laugh was the whole, she has to go out and pull the weeds. And I thought, I would think you have to do that with this type
Well, here in front we did. Here in front, he seeded this first, and we had a terrible problem with weeds. I pulled and pulled and pulled weeds. Over there on that side, we didn't have a problem with weeds at all, so we didn't pull any weeds there.
You've really inspired kind of this whole area with a little bit of a different mindset in how they go about planting up their yards, and even some of the, the areas as you drive throughout this neighborhood. You can tell it's more wild and more natural. You proud of that? And did you?
I don't know.
Just happened without even.
I mean, we did what we wanted to do, I guess. And if they want to follow, that's fine. I know at first they all thought we were absolutely nuts. we got all kinds of comments about, oh my gosh, what are they doing? But we were grandfathered in, so they couldn't do anything about it. And it's been fun to see how different people now, they're not cutting certain areas, they're letting it go natural. And that's been kind of fun to watch.
To some, getting a naturalized landscape means you just simply stop mowing. Well, that is not the case. A naturalized landscape is intentional. You're planting things that are native to your area and that are beneficial to that environment. They're beneficial to the birds and the insects and the soil, and those plants are meant to grow in that environment. So ultimately, they save you on time, money, and water, and you're creating this ecologically functioning landscape. And even if you don't want to devote your whole lawn to that type of a landscape, if you plant up just a small area, you're still doing a good thing.
What you say. You told me about a warm, safe place, about the day that I was born. And when the wind blows troubles in your face, duck your head and find shelter in the eye of the storm.
You can even try your hand at growing your own food. Taking control over some of the things that you eat will help you naturally evolve into other organic things. And you really do gain an even greater appreciation of nature when you grow your own edibles. And even if you only have one sunny window and one container, plant something. You don't have to be a master gardener. You don't even have to really know the first thing about gardening. Sometimes the best way to learn is to just dig in and do it. The energy that we use is another thing that we all need to be conscientious of. And really, wouldn't we all love to have one of these in our yards and all the solar panels and everything else that makes each of us more individually sustainable and energy independent? And while some people do have these things, a lot of us can still make our difference by simply using what we do have available to us in our homes and workplaces more wisely and efficiently. And there really are some simple things that all of us can grab onto. We use a lot of resources in our homes on a daily basis. Gas, water, electricity. But the one thing that we all do have control over is how we use those resources. And it's so easy for all of us to take them for granted because they're literally the touch of a button, the flick of a switch, the turn of a dial or knob. But if we all make a more conscientious effort to use what we need and to not be wasteful, that in itself is going to make a difference. For instance, in the summertime, instead of just closing up shop and automatically turning on the air conditioning, try to do some of the things that will keep your home cool naturally. You know, use your window coverings to block out that hot sun during the day. Cut back on the use of your stove and your oven. Keep the fresh air moving. Prop your windows open. Take advantage of any cross ventilation that you have. The use of ceiling fans or floor or countertop fans are also helpful, and they're energy efficient compared to running your whole home air conditioning. You also want to maybe spend a little bit more time in the areas of your home that are just naturally cooler, like basements or outdoor shaded patios, and dress for the weather. During the hot summer months, wear loose, natural fiber clothing, and you'll find that if you're not going in and out of air conditioning all day, that the warmer temps really are more tolerable, and then you can save the luxury of air conditioning for those extremely hot days when you really, really need it. And then during the winter time, you're going to do the opposite of all of that. You're going to let the sun naturally shine in so that you can help warm things up. You're going to want to seal and cover up any areas that let the cold air in and the warm air out. And again, dress accordingly. You don't necessarily have to be running around your house in shorts and a t-shirt when it's frigid temps outside. You know, dress in layers. That way you're able to keep yourself comfortable all day long naturally. And it's not as much of a shock on your system when you're going from indoors to outdoors. And during the wintertime, we usually keep our thermostat at about 63 degrees, which may seem a bit chilly to most people, but the air really does seem crisper and healthier. We sleep better. We don't have any of that sluggishness that you sometimes get when you have an overly warm house. Also, staying active is another fabulous natural way to keep warm. You really just want to look around your house and become really aware of all of the different things that use energy or some sort of a resource. Don't leave things on when you're not using them. Don't be wasteful. Use only what you need. And we could spend hours going through every room of the house, sharing all of the different ways that we can conserve. But for the purposes of today, it's really just about recognizing all that we do use and starting to think about how we can use all of those things more efficiently to really work with nature rather than against it. Setting yourself up with a clothesline or drying rack is another good example of doing things a bit more naturally. And not only will these guys save you on money and they save on energy, but they're also better for your clothes, in turn making them last longer.
I wanna catch you.
Doing things ourselves is another way for all of us to celebrate living a more organic lifestyle. When we do things ourselves, for one, we are naturally more engaged in the products that we are using. And around here, we are doing a number of different projects every week using a variety of different materials. And as you can imagine, my shelves aren't solely stocked with 100% green supplies. That being said, we are constantly searching out healthier, friendlier options for all of the different jobs that we do, and there are more and more alternatives becoming available to all of us every day. They're getting easier and easier to find. And then when we are faced with using something that is less than friendly, it's important to just use it with good sense, good safety, and to dispose of it properly. And another thing, when you're doing things yourselves, you're more a part of the process, and that in itself makes you more aware of things. Whether you're building something, redecorating, cooking, gardening, you have control over what you use and how you use it. And then there's this like snowball effect with ideas and problem solving and innovative thinking that makes it easier for you to be more resourceful and to come up with those unique, useful ways of repurposing things. And regardless if we're talking about food products, building products, cosmetic products, it's as simple as looking at what things are made of, how they're made, and always trying to support the healthier choices. And on a final note, get outside. Nature is a big part of things. I mean, really, this is what we're all trying to take care of, right? Be a part of it. It is readily available to all of us, whether we live in the city, in an apartment, out in the country. You can go for walks, you can try to grow something, and most importantly, don't get overwhelmed with all of the latest, greatest green things. Living an organic lifestyle is not about following a trend or wearing a label. It's really about doing the things that make sense and that are good for us and the environment. Depending on where you live, where you work, transportation choices that are good for the environment and yourself can be celebrated in several conscientious ways. Riding your bike or walking are a couple of probably the simplest, most obvious ways, but public transportation is another wonderful choice. Carpooling, being very conscientious and mindful of the trips that you are making here and there, and then of course on a larger scale, setting yourself up with a very efficient vehicle.
Like what you see and want to know more? Go to beorganic.net and be part of our growing online community. We're well stocked with projects from the show and more. Lounge around and check out our growing library of down and dirty and 30 video tips and our Be Organic blog for natural ideas that are always fresh but never artificial.
Renee, this is really Renee's project from the start. I mean, if it hadn't been for her, I'd be still living in an apartment on Franklin Avenue.
That's kind of cute. Empowered.
I suppose I can go.
Well, I suppose I should do that then. Yeah, let's.
No, that's really too much.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
We should just sit like this.
This is how we sit.
Yeah, this is really how we sit.